Hello friends, good evening and welcome back to our channel. Here we are going to study the topic of international business, which is a very important chapter for the UGC Net Commerce exam. And earlier also we have done two videos about this chapter, and now we are going to go the further part. So the first thing is what is the exchange rate? So it is the value of a country's currency versus that of another country. So what we are mainly doing here, we are just comparing the currencies of the two countries, and whatever the exchange rate, it means suppose you are taking two currencies, dollar and rupee. So exchange rate means we want to just check out that how many dollars or how many rupees is equivalent to $1. So that will be the exchange rate. For determining the exchange rate, we have three methods. It is the first one is fixed exchange rate, floating exchange rate, and free exchange rate. So firstly we are going to do about the fixed exchange rate. In fixed exchange rate, the government is fixing the rate at which the foreign currencies can be bought or sold. It means the government is giving a rate that this will be the rate which will go on in the market, and at this rate you have to buy the foreign currency or sell the foreign currency. Okay, now it is fixed with respect to the value of gold per ounce or with respect to dollars and pounds. So how did the government set it? So the government sets this rate when it compares the value means as compared to the value of gold or the value of dollars, like this. So it is setting the rate, fixed exchange rate. And supply and demand of foreign exchange regulated by the central bank. All this will be done by the central bank. Central bank will be deciding that how much supply would be there of foreign exchange in the market, or how much demand would be there in the market. So how it works on, and how we are using this fixed exchange rate, that we are going to see here. See, in our balance of payment, we had done that balance of payment, the balance should always be zero. Means there are two things in that, the current account and the capital account. So when we total this, the current and the capital, the balance should be always zero. But what happens in the current account, we can have a deficit balance or we can have a surplus balance. Okay, in the current account what mainly happens, we have two columns, debit and credit. Okay, and in the debit side we are mainly writing all the imports of all the goods and the services, and in credit side we are writing all the exports of the goods and services that we have done during the year. Okay, so if the imports are greater than the exports, so that's the deficit condition, and the exports are greater than the imports, that is the condition of surplus. Okay, so firstly we are talking about the condition that if suppose we are getting a deficit condition, then what is going to happen? If deficit condition is there, the foreign currency or the gold is going out. Okay, then what will happen? Money supply will be reduced because your foreign currency is going outside your country. Then the money supply will be reduced, the price level will be reduced. When the price level reduces, it means that the price of exported items decrease. Price of exported items means what our country has exported from the other countries. Okay, so that price will increase. It means the price of exported items will decrease, and the export revenue that you are exporting to the other country, that is going to increase. Okay, इसका मतलब ये हो गया कि जो आपने बाहर से चीज़ें एक्सपोर्ट की हैं उसका आइटम डिक्रीज हो जाएगा बिकॉज वी आर depreciating our value, and the export revenue will increase because the value of other currency is going to increase as compared to us. Okay, so we have to pay more in that condition. So what will happen? This will be improving the country's BOP position because the exported item, because the export revenue is going to increase in this case, then the BOP position will increase. But what will happen when the export revenue is increasing? Then all the business people, all the teams who are doing the business, the traders and all that, they will become very pessimistic type because they are getting good revenue for themselves. Okay, and they will postpone their investment. They will think like that we are going to do the investment in the future. So in this case what will happen? Because they have become of this viewpoint, then as a whole there will be depression in the economy. The other condition is that, the second condition is that the country is having a surplus balance. Then just suppose that the foreign currency or the gold is coming inside our country, the money supply and the price also is going to increase. The price of exported items, the exported items we have done from the other country, that will increase, and the export revenue that we are getting, that will decrease. Then we'll have a surplus in BOP because now the export revenue is decreasing, so we'll have a surplus in our balance of payment. So because of this, the price level will rise high, and it will be a case of hyperinflation. Means because of the price level, there will be much rise in the prices in the country, and it will lead to a condition of hyperinflation. Now the second case that we had is the floating exchange rate. In this, what happens that the government is fixing the range of the foreign exchange rate within which the foreign exchange is allowed to fluctuate to the demand and supply of the foreign currency. The government has given us a range, and in that range we can fix any price according to the market conditions. Okay, but here also the government interferes. Suppose the rate is moving beyond the maximum level. Suppose the government has set the rate as 40 to 45 rupees, but it is moving beyond the 45 level. So what will the central bank do? Central bank will then interfere in that case, and it will supply foreign currency in the market. When it is going to supply foreign currency in the market, then there will be a more foreign currency in the market, and when there will be more foreign currency in the market, then its price will fall down, and then it will come in the same range. Similarly, if the rate is falling down the minimum level, the rate is coming down the minimum level, so what will the central bank do in that case? It will buy the foreign currency. So in that case, we'll have a shortage of foreign currency in the market. So when they have shortage of foreign currency in the market, so what will happen? Again, its price will rise high, and they will come again in the range. Means in any way, the central bank does the work in such a manner that the price has to remain in that range which is already set for the market. Now the merits of this is that this is very useful, and it is providing the benefit of fixed as well as the flexible exchange rate. We are getting the benefit of fixed rate also because the government intervention is very much here, and the flexible exchange rate also because it can fluctuate to a certain limit. Now the next thing is the flexible exchange rate. According to this, the rate is determined by the market forces. Whatever the market forces, demand and supply conditions are there, according to that the rate is determined. Excess of demand for foreign currency. If suppose the demand is foreign currency is more, then what will happen? The price will go up, and then the both demand and supply will be getting equal. Okay, and suppose excess of supply, the foreign currency supply has get more, so what will happen? Again the price will fall down, and then both the demand and supply will become again equal. Means in any condition they will have to remain in the equilibrium point here. They'll have to remain in the equilibrium point as shown in the graph here. This is the demand graph which is downward sloping, and this is the supply graph. So this is the equilibrium point, and when they both are moving, suppose the price is getting higher, then the demand is getting in this way, or the supply moves, but again they have to be coming in the this equilibrium point. Now the merits of this is that here the government intervention is very less, so government gets time, and it can concentrate on different things, domestic economic policy, etc. Then the country can choose the mixture of unemployment and the price it prefers. Means it can just decide that how much export and imports it want to do or not do. Such things can be decided. Now the demerits, uncertainty in the international trade. In the international trade, we don't have any uncertainty because we don't know that after 1 month or after 30 days or after 15 days how much the price of the foreign exchange would be there, so that we can plan for our business. We can't do that because there is very much uncertainty in this condition. The people are speculating against it. Black marketing can also be there. Manipulation of prices can also be there. The middlemen, they would be doing certain things. Now the danger of competitive depreciation leading to global depreciation. What will happen because of this? Because here the depreciation part will take on. Means whenever the currency of certain countries would be devalued again and again, because they won't be able to stand to that international competition. So what will happen? The global depreciation will be taking place. Okay, because there are many developing countries in the whole world as compared to the number of the developed countries in the whole world. Now the cause of change in exchange rate. Why they change? Because the rate of inflation is different in different countries. Then the capital flow movement. Whenever we are doing any capital flow, we are borrowing from someone or we are lending to someone, then in that case also the exchange rate changes. The growth or rate of different countries is different. So again, then the political stability is also a major reason for it. The theory of a foreign exchange trade. There are three theories for it. The first is the mini parity theory. According to this theory, what we have to do, the rate we have to determine on weight to weight basis of the metallic content of the two money units. We are taking two countries and the currency of the two countries. We have to see that what is the metal used in that currency. And according to that metal used, according to the weight of the metal, we'll have to decide the exchange rate. But for this, the countries should be of the same metallic standard. Okay, suppose two countries are there and one is using a gold currency and the other one is using a copper currency, then that's not going to happen here. Both the countries should have the currency of the same metal. The other one is the purchasing power parity theory. According to this, the rate of exchange tends to be stabilized at the point of equality between the purchasing power of the two currencies. We have to see that whatever the two currencies we are having, how much they can purchase. So their purchasing power we have to compare, and that is according to the purchasing power parity theory. Now the next is balance of payment theory. According to this, exchange rate is determined by the autonomous factors. Determined like this. Suppose we have deficit BOP, then depreciation would be there, and surplus BOP, then appreciation would be there. We can't help in both these cases. If you have the deficit BOP, then in that case you need to depreciate the foreign exchange rate, and if you have surplus, then you can appreciate your currency. So that these are two things that is done automatic, and you don't need to interfere much in that. Now we have exchange rate of two types. One is the spot exchange rate and the forward exchange rate. So spot exchange rate is the rate in terms of home currency, and this is payable, means suppose you are purchasing something at this time. Suppose you have to purchase $100 now. So $100 you are going to pay for it, and the rate is suppose 75 rupees at this time. So 100 multiplied by 75 you would be paying for the dollars. Forward exchange rate is the rate, suppose you are going to purchase $100 after 3 months. So the rate that you are paying after 6 months, you are expecting that the rate would be suppose 80 rupees. Then you have to pay according to that, or 70 rupees. Then you have to pay according to that for after 6 months the transaction you are doing, but you are paying at this time. So that is the forward exchange rate. Now we have one more topic here for the arbitrage. When two markets are physically separated, means we are saying here that there is much fluctuation in the foreign exchange rate. So if we are going in two markets, suppose here two markets are there and the rates of exchange are different there. So what one can do, one can purchase the foreign currency at one place, and can go and sell the same currency at a different place for a higher amount. So this thing is called the arbitrage, and people are earning huge profits from this method. Okay, suppose you can do it in different countries. India is there, and suppose you can take Pakistan. So India, the value of dollar is something else, and Pakistan, the value of dollar is something else. So what you are doing, you are purchasing dollar here, and then you are going and selling it in Pakistan. So what will happen? You are earning a profit in the midway. So this is known as the arbitrage. One more thing we can do. Age of hedging. So what is hedging? Hedging is the rate at which foreign currency to be received after 6 months will be exchanged for domestic currency decided beforehand by paying a commission. Suppose you know that we are going to purchase or sell $100 after 6 months. So you are paying a rate for it even today only. By paying a commission, you are just putting a hold on that rate. So that is known as the hedging. So in this video we have done all these things, and the next video we will be doing about the rest of the things of the chapter. Thanks a lot.